Have you ever loved someone so deeply that even after death you couldn't let go? What if your child was unjustly punished for a sin they didn't commit, and their body left out in the open, exposed to shame? This is not just a story from the past. It's the story of Rizpah, a mother, a widow, and a woman of unshakable devotion. Her name is only mentioned a few times in the Bible, yet her silent act of love and protest changed a king's heart and brought peace to a broken nation. Stay with me as we explore a forgotten yet powerful story that still speaks volumes today. To understand Rizpah's story, we must first go back to a time of national crisis. In the days of King David, Israel was facing a severe famine that lasted 3 long years. People were starving, crops failed, and prayers seemed unanswered. So David did what any God-fearing king should. He sought the Lord for answers. And the Lord said, "It is on account of Saul and his blood-stained house. It is because he put the Gibeonites to death." 2 Samuel 21 verse 1. Now this is important. Centuries earlier, the Israelites had made a covenant with the Gibeonites, a promise of peace. But King Saul, in his misguided zeal, broke that covenant. He attacked and killed many Gibeonites. God had not forgotten that sin. Even though Saul was dead, his actions still stained the land. Justice was due. To make things right, King David asked the Gibeonites what would satisfy their demand for justice. And they said, "We want 7 of Saul's male descendants. Give them to us to be executed." David agreed. He spared Mephibosheth, the disabled son of Jonathan, because of his covenant with him. But he chose 2 sons of Rizpah and 5 other male descendants of Saul. Let that sink in. Rizpah's sons, Armoni and Mephibosheth, were handed over. They had done nothing wrong. They didn't kill anyone, but they carried the name of Saul, and that was enough. They were publicly executed, and their bodies hung on a mountain, a symbol of both justice and shame. And according to custom, the bodies of the condemned were not buried immediately. They were left exposed to show the price of breaking a covenant. But what about the mothers? What about Rizpah? What Rizpah does next is beyond comprehension. The Bible says she took sackcloth and spread it out for herself on a rock, from the beginning of the harvest till the rains poured down from the heavens on the bodies. She did not allow the birds of the air to touch them by day or the wild animals by night. 2 Samuel 21 verse 10. Let's break that down. Rizpah stayed on that hill for months, from the beginning of barley harvest, around April, until the early rains, possibly October. That's 6 months of mourning, 6 months of shooing away vultures and wild dogs, 6 months of fighting heat, cold, and loneliness, 6 months of guarding the honor of her sons. Long after the world had forgotten them, she made no speeches, she held no signs, she just stayed and loved in silence. How often do we move on from pain too quickly, or overlook those who grieve quietly? Rizpah teaches us the power of presence, of unspoken prayers. Eventually, word reached King David about what Rizpah was doing. Can you imagine what he must have thought? Here was a woman, a former concubine of Saul, camping by a hill for months, guarding the bones of her dead sons with nothing but sackcloth and sorrow. David was deeply moved. He gave orders to retrieve the bones of Saul, Jonathan, and the executed sons. He gave them a proper burial in the family tomb of Kish. And then something miraculous happened. After that, God answered prayer in behalf of the land. 2 Samuel 21:14. Justice had been served, the famine was lifted, but none of it happened until one grieving mother refused to be silent. Rizpah's name only appears in 2 chapters of the Bible, yet her story speaks to mothers who grieve, people who suffer silently, injustice left unspoken for too long, and the power of love to demand dignity for the forgotten. Rizpah didn't fight with weapons. She didn't shout at kings. She didn't curse God. She fought with silence, with presence, with faithful love that refused to give up. And through her pain, a nation found peace. Maybe you're watching this and you've been like Rizpah, fighting alone, mourning quietly, waiting for someone to notice your pain. Let Rizpah remind you, God sees you, God remembers you, and your silent cries are louder in heaven than you think. What part of Rizpah's story moved you the most? How do you show love to others, even when it's hard? Have you ever had to stand for justice in silence? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video and subscribe to Insight from Above for more biblical stories that reveal God's heart through forgotten voices. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful insight. Her name was Rizpah, a woman overlooked by history, but never overlooked by God, because sometimes the loudest prayers are made with no words at all.